Now is the perfect time to work at Amazon. They are offering hourly jobs with great pay and even include a large sign-on bonus. No matter where you're at in the job market, you can select from a variety of available roles in your area. Join an exciting work environment and be part of a team that brings smiles to customers every day. To find the job that works for you and some extra cash, go to amazon.com/apply. That's amazon.com/apply. Amazon is proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Finally, a bed that senses snoring and automatically responds. Meet the Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic, our first system that detects snoring, then automatically adjusts by raising the bed. Get your best sleep, all night, every night. For a limited time, save up to $500 on select adjustable mattress sets and experience the deep, undisturbed sleep of Tempur-Pedic. Get full offer details at TempurPedic.com.
And dads. Adventures in Collecting is about toys, but it might not be for your children, especially if you don't like words like f*** or sh** or a**hole.
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Erik.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hi.
Dave, we're back.
We are. I mean, we are in unprecedented territory. I think this will be another week without news, isn't it?
It is, and I think I don't know if anyone out there even cares enough to correct us, but I think this might be our longest weekly streak in a row.
Yeah, this is like our look into kind of the toy world in general here. Like, this is kind of like we're doing our best. There's no toy fair, so we've got cool stuff.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we're bringing the toy fair heat from here from New Jersey. We've got it. So is there something that I shouldn't do today, Dave?
Erik, please, whatever you do not bury the lead.
You know what? Only because you asked so nicely. You know, you used your peas and carrots. Your please is there. So you got it, Dave. This week's guest has made his mark on the toy community by creating amazing pieces in the world of bootleg and art toys, and he was subsequently featured in the Master Casters documentary. Now he's gearing up to launch into a new adventure with fresh, original designs. Welcome to the show, Dollar Slice Bootlegs himself, John Pryor. John, welcome to Adventures in Collecting.
Yo, dudes, what's good? Hey, thank you for having me, and thanks for the lovely intro. That was really nice. Thanks.
Oh, we're super excited to talk to you. We love your work, and you know, as we mentioned before we started recording, you know, mutual friend Yuma Booma on Instagram has nothing but praise for you, and you know the you know, there are people out there that you're inspiring. So we're excited to have you on, man.
Another shout out for Yuma, 2 weeks in a row too.
He's gonna need a jacket one of these days.
Yeah, he's part of the club.
So you just gotta make dog tags for your gang or something and send him some out.
I like that. AIC dog tags. We could be the Nick Gage of toy podcasts.
Yeah, or have T-shirts with names on the back or something.
Toy gang affiliated.
That'd be sick. Toy gangs, dude. That's where it's at.
So before we get started, you know, learning more about you and the projects you're working on, as this is a podcast about toy collecting, we ask all of our guests, what are you currently collecting?
Oh my, man. I mean, geez, at the moment, it's pretty eclectic. I've been just like anybody else, I've been picking up random reaction figures depending on what license it is they're dropping. Right now, I've been grabbing those Storm Shadows and Snake Eyes that they did with the reaction series. Just, man, those things are just so pretty, like they look like the cartoons, but like 5-point articulation figures. They're really neat. So yeah, reaction's been picking my wallet with those. Those NECA Target animated turtles and the movie figures. They just keep on coming out with the hits, and how can you say no? and like where I live, dude, in Monterey, like there's so few and far between shipments, so it makes it extra fun, just to try and find these things in the wild. It sometimes takes like 8 months to a year before they show up on the shelf, but it's worth it. I just found the last set of the Twin Frogs about 3 weeks ago, and those come out in February or something. So literally I've been looking for a full year, and they finally hit the shelves here. So I don't know. NECA makes it fun. It's like old school collecting in the 80s and 90s. Like, just keep looking. Eventually they'll show up, You don't have to go to like eBay or anything.
It's true.
For sure.
Right. Do you guys collect those at all? Or you've been following that line, or?
So I do the movie turtles.
Oh, word.
And
you got your Toka and Razor 2-pack?
I decided I was going to go into the line late, and it was after that 2-pack came out. So yeah, that's one that's there are two releases, like recent action figure releases that like really I have regrets about, and that's one of them.
What's the other one, dude? I gotta know now what the other one is.
The HasLab Jabba's sail barge.
Oh, word, yeah. Oh,
because that's my my main focus is the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures,
dude.
And I just at the time I was not in a place where I could spring for it. And, I still don't have the space, but like I'm a little bit more stable now at this point. So I if I could do it now, I would. But like aftermarket on that thing goes for like $1,300.
Yeah,
now.
that one's in the four figures these days.
Yeah,
it's wild what that turned into.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen. But
word.
I love those new G.I. Joe reactions, and I love that they did
those are really cool.
That they did that special
so
like India release of Snake Eyes, like that like weird like robin's egg blue color.
Like blue. Yeah, I just found those last week here, and like, grabbed one to keep in the package and one to open and mold up, But yeah, have you found them yet? They look just as good in person. It's really neat.
The colors pop on them in a way that I didn't really think would be possible, if that makes sense.
It's one of those things where they look better in person.
100%.
Right? Yeah, it's unusual these days. Usually toys look better in the pictures, so that's fresh. Well, dudes, on the NECA and the sail barge, I got you. I'll send you pictures of mine. But it's all good. And then other things I've been collecting as well. I have a Focus collection, and so I'm constantly adding to it. I've been collecting the original Malbolgia from the second series of Spawn figures, and I just hit 76 the other day. So I'm almost at 100. So after I hit 100, I'll be done collecting those. And,
so wait, so you have 76 McFarlane Series 2 Malbolgias?
Dude, did you collect? Yeah, I do. But did you collect back when those came out? Because when those came out, they were harder to find. Like, I don't even know. Like, they were the most rare, sought after figures, selling for like $150 on the aftermarket. And like I've got like this special connect. Like my grandma used to drive me around trying to find one. Again, where I live, there's just no finding toys. So we spent about 6 months, like every couple weekends, driving around the area. So I just have this like love for the toy, for like what it meant to like the industry in toys, like what a dramatic shift that was. That was like, hey, get this, check out all these spray-on paints, check out the size, check out the articulation, check it out. It's a standard release figure. Get with the program. And on top of that, it's just like, it reminds me, like, my grandma is just like, she's not around now, but she was awesome. And she just like was my cheerleader. So I have a lot of good memories driving around hunting for toys with her, and Malapolgia being like one of those. It was also like that weird, awkward time when you're like just getting into high school, and the last thing you want to be doing, like at least in the 90s, was being seen collecting toys. But I didn't care. It was cool to hang out with my grandma, and it was cool to get Malbolgia. So yeah, I just need 100 for some reason.
Yeah, I had it best. I was like looking for toys and also like, you know, wearing like Stone Cold Steve Austin shirts all the time. So it was like, you know, between the wrestling and like and the toys, I was just like, yep, I'm the coolest.
Oh man, sounds like we would have been homies. That's exactly it. Yeah. No, so yeah, I don't know. That Malbolgia figure is just really special to me. So I've been managing to pick a few of those up every month. And lastly, but not least, if anything, these guys make, now this is more designer art, but they make one-to-one style, like Robotech kind of Evangelion style helmets and clothing. It's this brand called Machine 56. And I've just been adding more of their work to my collection over the last month. They had a few drops on some masks. And I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they literally look like something that hopped off a Robotech, except for you can actually wear it. It's functional. I mean, I wouldn't wear it because there's like only 56 to like, I don't know, 10 of some of these things. But
I was gonna say, are those the helmets that you wear in your Book of Boba Fett videos?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are all Machine 56, and yeah, they're unreal. I don't even know how to describe it other than I've been obsessed with that brand for the last 2 years, and I managed to add a couple more masks to the collection. And I don't even know. You guys have seen them?
Yeah, they look sweet.
Oh, no, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're all Star Wars fans here, so anytime I see people that I respect talking about Star Wars, I'm kind of drawn to it. So I've been watching, the videos that you, Sucklord, and friend of the pod Peter have been doing, and they're fun to watch. So
heck yeah! Oh, thanks. Yeah, they're fun to do. It's so wild, and like that. You know what? Like, everybody is far across the country, but every Friday we get together, the three of us, to talk about Boba Fett. It's so cool.
It literally is across the country. You got you in California. Peter's in what? He's in
Illinois,
the Midwest, right? Yeah, Illinois, and then yeah, Sucklord in New York
every
City.
Time zone. It's wild. 5 here, 7 in Peter, and 8 in Sucklord's. And we've managed to do it 7 weeks in a row now on Friday. Damn. Which is just mind-boggling.
That's a feat right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, especially with like the season finale coming up, you know.
I know, right? That's just about to happen. And oh man.
as we record like tomorrow. So
yeah.
So what was the first figure that you saw that made you want to get into customizing and creating your own figures?
Okay. Geez. Now this is like a little blurry because this is back when I drank. And it was either Sam Sushi by Falcon Toys or the Pink Star by Sucklord. I can't remember which one it was first and which one led to the other, and down the rabbit hole I went. But it was like 2014. My homie True Prey, he like tagged me in a Star Cause post. Do you guys follow that collector or know who that is? He's not on Instagram too much anymore, but he used to have the most insane collection he'd post regularly from.
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay, it's KAWS, Star Cause. Check him out. And I can't remember if it was the Pink Star or Sam Sushi, but my buddy True Prey tagged me, and I was kind of buzzed and just, kind of blew my mind. I just didn't know what to think of what I was seeing because, I'd seen Kit Bash toys, but these, I think it was the Sam Sushi because it was like the translucent arms and head. Like, it was obvious this dude was actually casting his toys as opposed to just kit bashing and gluing stuff together after he chopped them up and sanded it. And that really messed me up. That really messed me up good. I didn't know what to think about that. And I just didn't know how to handle it. And I just dove down that rabbit hole. And within that day, I think I had obsessed myself with Killer, Bootlegs, Healy Made, Falcon Toys, and Sucklord. And that would be sometime in February. And I obsessed for weeks. I didn't sleep well at all. Like, it was gnarly. It messed me up. I did not know what was going on, except for that I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I could relate to those micro obsessions, as I personally refer to them, where like there's just that one thing that jumps out, and it's literally the only thing I can think of until I either figure out, I guess, like what that thing means to me, or if I'm going to be a part of it, or if it's like outside of my orbit. But I totally totally understand what it's like to see something and just be like, whoa, I need to know everything that there is to know about this right now. Like right now.
Yeah, it did not make sense to me. And I just couldn't for the life of me understand how they were getting the results they were getting. And like, I mean, I really couldn't sleep. I'd really be sitting there thinking about like one of Peter's like rainbow airbrush paint jobs and just being like, how did they do that? How are they measuring? Like, this is at like 3 a.m. I mean, it was all bad. I should have known right then and there that I'd 8 years later be here talking to you, because there was no direction. It was either like do it or like become an insomniac. I don't know. I didn't understand or know how to. I just knew it was what I wanted to do.
So after seeing that, that first figure and finding the inspiration to start down that path, was kind of making toys your first artistic expression, or did you evolve that from something else? Had you had previous art forms?
Yeah, like in the classic sense of like 2D art, like painting, drawing, all that stuff. I had all my hopes and dreams of being an artist smashed out of me in high school by my art teachers. So I didn't really think of what I was doing in my 20s as art, but yeah, I sang for a couple bands. You write music, you sing, and for about 7 years, I was a hairstylist, and that's a whole other art in itself right there. Just the coloring and cutting and every aspect involved in that. So the toys wasn't my first artistic endeavor, but it was my most authentic and like intentional and realized. And I was definitely outside my comfort zone when I started.
Now, being a hairstylist, did any of kind of that, working in like a 3D space, did any of that translate when you started working on toys?
Yeah. Funny enough, it's wild. I'm so grateful that I was obsessed with color and that I was doing color during the Paul Mitchell ink blot days when like the MySpace scene hair was happening, because a lot of my clientele was just like doing the most wacky, contrasty, cuckoo banana colors and patterns and getting away with it, So like, and not just for like folks that, I knew on the street, but like, I had a period of time where I'd go on tour with a bunch of different bands, and do their hair and, style them before a Draven shoe photo shoot or a video or before they went on stage, like if you've got Silverstein Records, look in the first couple albums, you'll see my name in the backup vocals and all that, and I don't know, I had this whole other world in the music scene, but yeah, like doing hair and colors, especially the whole color theory was insanely valuable to doing toys later and understanding color theory. And also just later on, wanting to do weird stuff with like, fake hair on things or just different kind of like crafty things I learned from hair. They could be applied and worked with toys as well, it was bizarre, but it worked out.
How did the opportunity to be featured in Mastercasters come up?
Oh, geez, Mastercasters. That's so cool. I love Mastercasters. So I'm not exactly sure how it happened. Timothy Patrick, the man behind the project, Tim, he probably sent me a message, or he might have just come and introduced himself to me like straight up, like at Designer Con, and it was either 2015 or 16. And I mean, I remember shooting some footage there, but one way or another, yeah, he just came out of the blue, and it's like, hey, do you want to be in this? And I love doing that kind of stuff. I don't turn those down, so I was really excited to do it, and it was amazing because I think I'd recorded 4 different segments at that point. So, this was another one. And I was like, okay, bro, we'll see. But it's great because it really came out. And that guy has killed it. He has worked so hard. And it's on Tubi now. It's on Amazon Prime. He's done a great job of distributing and getting eyes on it.
And for those of you that aren't aware of what Mastercasters is, it's this incredible documentary. I cannot recommend it enough. If you follow members of the toy community, especially like the toy art scene, you will see some familiar faces in that. But it is just, it's such a cool look into the art form. It really is well done.
Yeah, there's just so much authenticity and like love for the community and like the art form. I can't thank Tim enough for what he did. He really nailed it, and really that's a perfect portrait of that time, and just the overall vibe and feel of like who we are and what we are about is like the resin bootleg designer art toys, whatever you want to call it.
So getting back into the process of actually creating, because I think everybody who is a toy collector is familiar with how toys function, right? Like depending on the format that you're in, the type of movement and articulation that you've come to expect in certain things, whether it's a a Kenner style 5 POA figure, or a super articulated wrestling figure, or comic book figure. When you're making something for the first time, how often does everything go right on the first try?
I mean, more specific, like when I'm making something, like trying to get like a rocket firing like mechanism to work, or like doing something I haven't tried before, like I don't know, like hula dancing, kind of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, anything. Like when you're
Yeah.
when you're trying to make the thing that's in your head come to life in front of you.
Okay. It's usually pretty decent hit ratio. I've been fortunate enough with the stuff that I've engineered and written out beforehand. It generally works out. The only issues I really had were the rocket firing blue. I did rocket firing blue snaggletooths a few years ago for DKE, and just figuring out the how to not get the springs to blow out internally. That was the only time I really had something really fail on me. But besides that, like getting something to work out to begin with, the way my process is I've got a few bins of toys that I generally draw from, and I'll just dump them out and just start staring, and I'll see a shoulder that I want, and I'll see a gauntlet that I want, and I see some knee pads I want, and then I go from there. And I've got it pretty much laid out and mapped out before I start molding and casting on what I'm going to do. So when it's all said and done, the molds pull fine, the figures look the way I expected them to, and that was even when I first started out. I'm still using the same couple bins that I dumped out for my original character, like my original releases, like the Slaughterbot and Duckman, and my Narriers, 8 years ago. It's just kind of how it's worked for me. So much like fails. I mean, sure, I've had designs I don't like once I see them actually molded and casted up, but not to sound too cocky, but I've been fortunate enough that I can generally engineer or troubleshoot all the issues I come across, oddly enough. Like, I think the biggest, scariest one I came across was when Arby's wanted me and my wife to make them a bobble-headed H. John Benjamin for one of their ad campaigns. And I don't have bobbleheads, and I definitely didn't quite know how to make it work with a solid piece of resin, But just one night of insomnia and a little time on the paper, and the first attempt worked, which I didn't expect. I expected definitely to have to throw it against the wall and start over, but the thing sprung back and forth, and it made it into the ad. So yeah, I don't know. I, I, I don't know. I think geez, I sound kind of lame saying this, but I've got a ridiculous amount of confidence in the toys and the work that I make when I'm making them. It's come out well since I started, and I just feel this is like my calling and what I'm supposed to be doing. So maybe it's a bit different, It's just, hey, this is what this guy's intentions and what he's supposed to be doing. So it works. I don't know.
Well, I feel like too, over the past 8 years, you've developed, a keen way of kind of like reverse engineering, right? Because a lot
Yeah.
of what you have to do, kind of like on the outset, is reverse engineer something that has, is kind of like tried and true, right? Like at the core of it, and then, once you kind of have that down, and with kind of your built-in confidence and creativity there. It really seems like you do have kind of like almost a templated process.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. It's just like it does. It just all falls into place somehow. And I think another thing is like, again, the confidence. When I came into it, Man or Monster was the only guy who was articulating stuff. When I got into it, there were really, really poorly pegged toys that you turn the arm and they fell out. It was like, well, bootleg. And I came in and I made magnets the standard in the game, Like I can go in any customizing group now, and anybody who's casting in resin, they're dumping neodymium magnets in there. And I fully credit myself with that, normalizing it and making it a standard for the game. And I feel like that just added a little feather in my cap too, just being like, hey, dude, like when I got into, when I got into this, no one was articulating. I figured out, well, I better do this with these magnets, and it worked, and it actually became the standard. It's just kind of like, okay, I have confidence, and where I lead myself, I can trust my steps and that they're sturdy. I don't know, because it's funny. I don't generally have this like level of confidence in a lot of things, but when it comes to my art, my toys, I do.
So would you say like process was the most kind of thing that was like the most difficult to nail down, or was it just kind of like more, trial by fire in a way?
Yeah, it was trial by fire, and one of the things like just starting out, I didn't mess around. I got my pressure pot right at the start. I wanted to have all the correct tools, so I didn't have to, make a mistake and be like, oh, geez, I should have used the right tool from the start. So basically, I was drinking. I used to not be good at drinking, but I did it anyway. So when I started out, yeah, it was a little harder to figure out because I was still drinking. Then I stopped drinking. And then it was just like, okay, follow these steps, do everything the way, oh, geez, I don't even know how to put this. Just follow the steps and do everything the right step of the process, and it will come out right every time. And that's basically what happened. There was a bit of learning curve. 6 months into my career, I moved my studio, and I was near the ocean, and there was a lot of humidity. And I didn't know that resin and humidity hate each other. So there was about 2.5 months where the majority of my casts wouldn't come out. And I thought that like maybe, it was just magic. There were 6 months I was doing really good at this stuff, and hey, I had a chance, and there you go, dude, back to the loser's bin and failing at everything you try. So back there. But fortunately, I Googled around and learned it wasn't me. It was the humidity. I moved to a different area, changed the humidity, got everything properly vented, and here we are talking now. But man, that was a horrible couple months. I really did. I thought like, oh, well, that's what it tastes like to be good at something. Well, savor it, because it's never coming back, pal.
Resin sadness.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that there were some designs where you were like, I don't know if that came out the way that I wanted. Is there something that you've made that you would look back and go, you know what, I'd probably do this differently, or I'd like another crack at it? And then is there something on the other end of it where you've kind of seen it and it's been like, yeah, I would not change a thing. This thing is perfect.
Word. Yo, all right. So mid 2017 into like late 2018, I was using spray on Mod Podge clear coat. And it turns out that stuff bubbles up after about 6 or 8 months. So I would undo everything I did then, and I feel really bad for anybody that has a piece from that era. If it looks like it's like got a disease, just shoot me a DM. Let's get that fixed. But yeah, I'd like to undo all of those specifically. I've never had an experience like that prior or afterwards, but oh man, it's wild seeing those things. It just looks like they had like a bubble bath and no one toweled them off, you know? It's just like they definitely didn't leave my studio looking like that, but whatevs. And
now you have a part of Dollar Slice history.
yeah, seriously, it's like I look at that. Anybody brings me a piece like that to sign, or they want to show me, I'm like, aha, I know exactly where I was when this was made. Do you want me to fix it for you? Because I'd really like to fix it. But those, and oddly enough, I mean, I push myself when I do pieces for shows, and there's 2 separate pieces that I did for Clutter Galleries for their in-action figure shows. The first one was this figure called 18 Visions, and I love it to death, but execution-wise, he leans to the right a little bit. His leg is a little, it bows in for some reason, and the master didn't do that, but the molds and the casts do. And I don't have one myself. There's like 2 in existence, but I really love that toy, so I'll go and look at it occasionally in the pictures, and just that knee, or not knee, but that curved calf leg. I would really like to put a cane in his hands, stand him up a little bit more, and give it another go. So maybe one day, maybe I'll have like work with my wife or something, Horsey Boo, and she'll sculpt it up, an original version. And then on the end of the spectrum, the other end, there's the Parrot, and that was another piece I did for in action figures, and that's like a giant 18-inch beast. I think it's about 3 pounds of resin. And unfortunately, the engineering was a little off. So when it got to the in-action show, he took a spill, and gravity
oh, no.
Gravity maimed his existence. So it's one of those things like I wish I'd give him another shot, and get him a little less gravity prone, and not have him do nosedives. But maybe someday. I don't know. It's cool to do things that you like, but at the same time, like, why dwell on the past? Because there's like a lot of cool stuff to do now and in the future, like cooler stuff than I did in the past. But that said,
there's always that opportunity to revisit.
Yeah.
True. And like I was gonna, like you asked as well, there's cool stuff in the past as well. Like I would never change my Slaughterbot, my original Slaugterbots. Like those things just came together from one of my original bins. Dumped it out, saw Sergeant Slaughter's goofy arms on there. I wanted to use the torso from the G.I. Joe snake armor since the day I decided I'd be doing this, but I didn't know how. And then the Gronk legs on the Gronk droid, the power droid, the vintage Star Wars figure, it just kind of made sense. And that figure is just so ridiculous. He's got these little tiny legs and somehow his gymongous hulking torso and these bulky arms and one finger pointing like he's some authoritative like beast, but he's just all funny and short and beefy and like pigeon legs. It rules. It just works. I don't know. And the fact that it doesn't fall over and that no one had used the snake armor beforehand, it just works. It worked, and it's still timeless. Anytime I want, I'll paint a few up, throw them just into my Instagram, not even like in the store, and there's somebody who wants to give them a forever home pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, I love looking at all the colorways you've done on them. The they look like I like the ones that look like they could be like gummy candy.
Oh word, yeah, yo, I agree with you. There's something so surreal and fun about these translucent see-through pieces, and just like yeah, I don't know, man. It's really, thanks. It's really fun to make them too. And other pieces, like my last piece before I started moving around, I had to move my studio and moved twice in the last year houses. But my Professor Waffles piece, that one really, oh geez, I'm still mighty proud of myself. Like I made it today. I just really wanted to tweak out and get all dweedly on like heritage and like when things were made. So I took a, vintage Star Wars source material piece. Then I took a modern vintage piece. Then I took a modern piece. And then I took like a 80s RoboCop, piece. And then I took a modern reaction RoboCop piece. Then I, took a Ready Player One pieces just to throw it all together with the way Ready Player One kind of took all of these properties and slammed them into one space. So it's kind of like the gloves, and they've got like this remote control Infinity Gauntlet kind of vibe. So it's just kind of like hammers home the idea of just everything being connected and controlled. And just because they're rad, I gave them some Action Master Transformers legs too. And it's one of my favorite pieces. And I really, I'm really psyched on that piece and what it did. And I actually haven't even released it yet. So I'm excited to put these 10 things out sooner or later.
Well, as soon as, not that they're going to last long enough for us to be able to actually share them and and get them out into the world, but as soon as we see it, we'll definitely share that out.
Oh, radical! Thank you. Yeah. Hey, you never know. It's like sometimes you think something's going to move, and you're hanging out with it 6 weeks later. So I always appreciate and super grateful for any promotion. So thank you.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Calling all partners. Losing weight is better together with Nutrisystem's Partner Plan. In fact, people who diet together lose 20% more weight than dieting on their own. Get new premium meals with up to 30 grams of protein. They're big and filling and taste delicious. Plus, try our new restaurant faves that taste like your favorite restaurant, portioned with half the calories. Don't wait. You could win big cash during Nutrisystem's Better Together Partner Plan $100K giveaway. And maybe win the grand prize of $25,000. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off your first month. You heard me right. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Don't wait. This partner plan offer will not last long. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin. See website for details on our 2-month subscription offer. No purchase necessary. Open only to U.S. residents over 21. Void where prohibited. Runs December 25 through April 4th, 2022. For official rules, visit Nutrisystem.com. Sponsored by Nutrisystem, Inc.
And now, back to the show.
Well, one thing that the three of us all have in common is that we all share kind of a deep affection for the punk rock community as well. Do you see any parallels or connections between that community and the toy community?
Well, yeah. Where did you guys come up? You went to like shows, like DIY basement show kind of stuff, like.
Oh yeah, so we're both.
Where are you guys out of?
We're both born and raised in New Jersey. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, how old are you guys, or what era of the scene were you going to shows?
Dave, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm 40, so like.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, New Jersey. So get this. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Tell me more. You guys go see Saves the Day shows, Lifetime, like.
Yeah, definitely familiar with some of those with like like Wayne Firehouse and even some
the Birch Hill,
like Montclair, Birch Hill, like going to like bigger venues, but
Bloomfield Ave Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, rad. Okay, so yeah, you know what I'm talking about then. So yeah, I mean personally, because post MySpace era punk rock and like DIY is a completely different animal. It's just like, hey, what's it like to have a global reach? So, okay, rad. You get it. So like, yeah, I think it's totally the same. I see so many parallels. Like, I came up in the 90s hardcore scene. I was I dove headfirst into that in 96. The second I found out about this band Redemption 87, dude, I was at every Bay Area hardcore show I could at every weekend. And I see, just the whole the whole like wild, wild west aspect. It's like you just can create whatever you want for yourself in the game, you know, whether it was a band and going on tour, or if it's making your own toy and creating your own audience and getting it out there for everyone to see, you know. It just is like tenacity and the like pure like I don't even know the word, arrogance. Not arrogance, but just the willingness to put yourself out there and be like, yeah, check out what I made. It's worth sharing with everybody. Put your eyes on this, you know, like get this. It's the same thing as being on stage for 15, 30 minutes, you know, singing these songs and, you know, flailing around kind of thing. Yeah, I totally could see a lot of also, you know, like there's a lot of folks where they wouldn't necessarily make it in so much normie kind of careers or whatnot. And same with like, you know, you'd see the hardcore community, you'd be like, wow, these people are right where they need to be. This is where they thrive, you know? And a lot of us in the designer, the resin toy community, I feel is very similar. We're very cut from the same antisocial cloth, I guess you could say, you know, but when it comes to our art form and what we do, we're just on point, you know, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, see, it's funny for me because this,
Yeah, like I would go to it, but Eric, you were doing it. So.
yeah, this podcast kind of, I mean, I'm currently recording it on the microphone that I used to scream into, you know, like,
Oh, rad.
you know, it's doing this podcast not only was a way for Dave and I to, you know, kind of talk about our hobby and, you know, talk about it with our friends initially and everything. This was kind of filled that creative void for me, because I've never been creative with my hands, you know, in terms of art, but I've always been, you know, behind a drum set. I've always been behind a guitar. I've always been behind a microphone since I was 15. You know, playing in windowless basements and, you know, jumping and putting my head through drop ceiling tiles. You know, it's always been that, right? And you know, then I had I got married, I had kids, and it becomes more difficult to gig once you have kids running around. And it's just so happened that the bandmates that I was with at the time, we all kind of hit that point in our lives where we were ready to kind of split off and do our own things.
The adult crash, as they say.
Yes, for real. And I, you know, I had been looking for something to kind of fill that void. And, you know, to your point, it's a level of confidence. You know, when you're a performer, you're used to putting yourself out there and saying, like, listen to me or watch me or look at what I'm doing. And this is kind of like a weird way to be creative, but also showcase real art at the same time, and like talk to the people that we love and the people whose art is incredible, and, you know, people who are really the gears and axles of the industry that are really kind of driving the toy world. And, you know, we get to chat with them and we get to have these cool moments where, you know, we get to help showcase their art, and at the same time be like, look, you know, we're a legitimate news source, and, you know, we're here to help and we're here to have fun. And you know, I think between the actual creative aspect of it, regardless of what side you're on, and then the actual like community vibe, it's like scary similar sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're so right with that. The whole cult of personality going on with different artists, you know, like people might not like each other, like an artist, not even for their art, but just for something they heard someone said that they said one time. It's really funny, you know. And, you know, you'll get people who are fans of an artist, you know, for their art, but also just for what their messages are, regardless of the way they get it out there. They're just like, yeah, this, I identify with this. This is an identity, you know. It's interesting. It's really cool. I enjoy it. You know, the stuff I've been doing has resonated with some folks to the point I think there's like 4 or 5 people that have my logo tattooed on them throughout the planet.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it is koalas. There's this one cat out in the United Kingdom, and it's from his kneecap down to his ankle. And the dude's like 6'6", and it's like full color, rendered just like the actual logo. Yeah, there's this other dude who tattooed from his like leg, his thigh line to his kneecap, you know, from like his hip. he tattooed himself, the logo.
That's cool.
Like so I mean, I definitely see like how you get these people that are fans of the work or the message or just the overall vibe, and to the point where I was like, here, dollar slice bootlegs on my skin. What's good? It's wild. I'm super grateful for those folks.
You've got a new venture out. It's Slice City Rebels. So tell us a little bit about that and how it's different from the previous work that you've done.
Right on. Okay. So Slice City Rebels. This is wild. So Slice City Rebels, it really feels like I'm starting over again. At the same time, it feels like I'm living a dream. Like it's already like Gravy Train with biscuit wheels movie life status, but it's like hasn't even totally started yet. So one of my favorite styles of art is tattooing and tattoos, and like, I'm literally covered from head to toe, face tattoos, all that jazz. So I managed to start collaborating with one of my favorite tattooers ever. He's my buddy, but at the same time, I don't know if you guys have been friends with people in like big bands or whatever. It's like, yo, hey, we're friends, but it's not like we're going to start a band together, So it's like this whole other bananas level. Like now I'm making toys with this dude, Adam Barton. And if you haven't heard of him or seen his work, Adam Barton Tattoos, or like, again, like a few years back, if you saw Avenged Sevenfold on TV, or like Good Charlotte, or like Atreyu, or like, he did the Avenged Sevenfold's like logo and all of their tattoos and all that fancy jazz. And Good Charlotte sing about him, have like rhyme his name with Nike Dunks or something somehow. I don't know. So yeah, he's just such an amazing artist, and definitely like my top 3 tattoo artists. He's in there. And I just asked him like about a year ago if he wanted to like, make some toys together. And we did some back and forthing, and we figured it out, and we started up Slice City Rebels. And some of them are based on my original characters that I've made, toys of already. Other ones are ones that were bouncing around in my head since I started out in 2014. I just didn't think I was going to be able to give them proper justice, so I never quite got them into the stages of like molding or casting, So me and Barton started working on these things, and the illustrations and the way he articulated my words into actual, drawing and illustration is just beautiful, to the point where it's like I couldn't imagine these characters any other way now that I've seen them. And we redid Big Rad Wolf, Slaughterbot, Professor Waffles, and my versions are awesome and I love them, but I could never see them any other way after I've seen his illustrations and interpretations of them. And that's just next. I'm beside myself. It's so cool to see one of my favorite artists designing my favorite toy. My toys that I make are my favorite. I'm not going to lie. I love my characters. So it's wild to see these. And then we got Scott Hensey from the original vintage Ninja Turtle line to sculpt them up for us. We're working with him, and to see that level of heritage and talent and just the passion, it's incredible seeing his sculpts and bringing him to life. And at the moment, we have one that's come fully to realization, the Robolope. That'll be our first one. I think you guys have seen it. And
I was just going to say,
surprisingly,
can we talk about Robolope? Because you did give us a little peek behind the curtain, and boy, is that thing awesome looking.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, please talk about Robolope. I'll just sit back here and you guys talk about it, because you're honestly the first people that I don't know that's actually seen it that I've talked to, that like aren't just like, I talk to on the regular that are my friends, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is my first like time that we've shown it to people that like just aren't like close in the, because I just didn't want to let it out too soon. And funny enough, he just put up photos last night, so now that the rabbit's out of the hat totally. But please discuss the Robolope.
So first and foremost, I mean, my gut reaction when you first sent it to me, I wanted to go and dig up my Bucky O'Hare figures, because he looks like the character straight. I mean, he has that obviously has that old school Playmates TMNT vibe to him, but he's got that cool space look. I mean, like I love like the robotic leg, and I love the colorway that you guys picked with it. That having like the kind of metallic teal in
that
the
is
one
all
leg
Adam
and the one
Barton.
arm.
Yeah, that's all Barton. He got to color the first edition of that one, and it's, I mean, right there. Look at that, guys. Just, I agree with you. I love those colors.
It has such a Playmates vibe to it that to me just like is like what screams awesome about it.
Yeah, those swivel hips. Like there's something about that era of toy making that is timeless. And there's a couple of periods and like a couple of toy lines that I think have left such a mark on toys in general that like they kind of have become their own gold standard. And I would say like Playmates TMNT, obviously Kenner Star Wars, and O-Ring Joe's, are the first three that come to mind, where it's like you cannot go wrong if you make a toy modeled after one of those kind of like systems, right? Like if you're in one of those ecosystems, you have a built-in collector base of people that like absolutely adore those lines and will forever. Like I mean, Super 7's reaction line is literally, what if Kenner made everything?
Everything.
and Playmates is still cranking out those those resurrecting those old molds and cranking out Ninja Turtles figures, and they can't stay in stock because they're still so good. So like the fact that you partnered with the people you partnered with for this project and are operating in a space where, again, like there's already a beloved toy line that will fit in right with what you're doing. I mean, it's just, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was the plan. It was definitely one of those things where they can stand alone as really cool toys, but at the same time, you're gonna want to put them next to your other Playmates figures. You're gonna want to put them next to your other, Ninja Turtles and all your Marvel characters and mutants. Like they just fit in. They work with your vintage '90s toys, and they just. I mean, there's just a heritage just screaming through. I mean, they came from Scott Sands, like Scott Hensey. You can't help but just like infuse his toys with his artistic, vibe, And another thing we wanted to do, like in keeping what you're talking about, is, the folks who are going to collect them because of Playmates alone. We wanted to give a little extra value to people that were going to pick them up, So they're actually a little bit beefier than normal figures. They're ranging from 6 to 7 inches, and going to be kind of hefty. Like, you could disassemble them and put all the pieces in a sock. And if you needed a weapon, I'm just saying, if you're at a show and some rival crew shows up and you're beefing or something, just put them in a sock and pull some Hatebreed show status stuff in the 90s.
Man, especially with Robolope, you could take out an eye.
Literally.
One of those antlers pokes through the sock, and next thing you know, you're puncturing eyeballs.
It's like a sock of death of blindness. Yeah. No, so yeah, we're doing those, and it's crazy. It's been surreal. It's been really fun getting to know Scott and like emailing with him, and he's just so humble and modest about his work. It's wild, the guy's a legend, and he's had his hands in so many generations' childhoods with their toys, and he's just the most mellow, kind, humble guy. It's been really fun. And just the overall starting over with this is completely different in the sense that we own these characters. Like we own these figures. This isn't like one of those things where I'd kind of in the back of my mind, regardless how heavy the kit bashing was, it's still, those weren't my sculpts, unless my wife did something, unless we collaborated. Those weren't my sculpts. And when it comes down to it, it is like, hey, I'm just putting other stuff together, and to suddenly have it become its own entire, hey, these are mine and Barton's. Like, those are ours. These are our characters, like down to the fingernail, like these are original. These are ours. It's a great feeling. It's just a totally different. I feel way more empowered and confident with it for what it is. And
so the burning question with these, when are we going to be able to see more of them? When are they going to start becoming available?
All right. So we're working towards, hopefully, again, how this stuff goes. You have a timeline and then reality sets in. But we're aiming for a May, June release for the Robolope, and hopefully staggering them every couple months after that. There's going to be a 5 initially. And we're also working We're also working on a comic book for it as well.
Awesome.
Adam's going to, yeah. Again, Barton is just such an amazing artist. It's, as a fan, I oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I can see Barton doing all sorts of comic book stuff. And then it's just like, hey, this is awesome. This is our property and our characters, and we're going to make a comic and like bring him to life and put him in adventures. And man, it's just so cool. It really feels like, this is what those 8 years were like for. This is what starting out was to launch into all original, completely owned line. We have Safubis coming out as well with 2 different vinyl companies like for these. Like we're going all in, which is neat that the opportunities are presenting themselves to do so.
The continued evolution of the Safubi revival. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we have a Robolope coming out with Monkey King. They're going to be putting out the Robolope, and then Toy Art Gallery are going to be putting out the Big Rad Wolf. And this is just all, just in the beginning stages. And you know how it goes with Safubi. They'll be about 18 months to 24 months before they're out.
Yeah.
But oh my, that will be really neat once they are out. And I have a sneaking suspicion that David Arkowski is going to be sculpting him, another vintage Playmates Ninja Turtle sculptor.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's like I said, it's been surreal. It's like movie life status. And even if it just stopped right here, it'd be fulfilling, but it's just the beginning, So probably the Robolope will be out in June or May, June, and we might even have an issue of the comic out by, midsummer, late summer, in time for Designer Con, I'm sure.
Very cool. And
That's awesome.
We've talked about a lot about collaboration, and especially with what you're doing with Slice City Rebels. But you've alluded to it, throughout the interview so far, that you've collaborated quite a bit with your wife, who is also a sculptor. So what's it like working together in that capacity? And tell us a little bit about the work that she does.
Yeah, so this is wild. So my wife, Katie, she goes by the artist name Horsey Boo. Don't try and just Google it. It's spelled funny. It's HOARCEEBU, Horsey Boo. And she's a sculptor, a toy maker. And she literally got into it by watching The Last Jedi and thinking the porgs were cute. And we had been together maybe about 6 months, and I gave her some Sculpey, and she sculpted up a porg. And by the time she was done with the first sculpt, she already was over it and was revising and making a second sculpt. And we molded and cast it. And I think by her 5th sculpt, she was sculpting for Arby's. She's just masterfully talented. It's bananas. She'd never done it before. Wanted to sculpt a porg, sculpted the first one. It was very rudimentary. The second one looked like it could have been like a designer Kenner piece. The third one was a porgicidal, a suicidal tendencies porg.
Nice.
And it just had so much soul, and it was so cute. And I don't know what it is. She's just a prodigy when it came to sculpting. So she picked up some clay, and she's been doing it like 3 years now, I think. 4 years, 3.5 years. It's been a lot of fun. It's bananas watching her grow as an artist, and just seeing her explode just on her own merit, nothing to do with me, just her sculpts and releases alone. Like, within the last year, she did a sculpt of that character from the Kevin Smith film Tusk. She sculpted up Mr. Tusk, and that thing is terrifying. It's got straight up like nipples on its back, a nose on its shoulder. It's a perfect figure, like 8-inch figure rendering of the actual Kevin Smith prop. When you Google Mr. Tusk now, all the reference is mainly her sculpt. It's insane. She can't keep them in her store. They take her about, 2 weeks each to make, and she can't even keep them in there. But yeah, it's been great. She's just an incredible artist. She puts me to shame in every regard. She's been doing it half as much or half as long a time. So that's great. That's cool. It's amazing though. It's a lot of fun watching her grow. And funny enough, she's been involved in some of my most controversial pieces, and some of my most popular ones. Like we did a bootleg. We were going to do a piece with the TNC Surf Designs, and that kind of fell through, and it became kind of controversial. So she sculpted up their Shaka Kong, is what it ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was her 6th sculpt or something like that. So Arby's, and then straight into the fire with controversial toy, with all sorts of brands coming after her. And after that, it's just been nothing but smooth sailing.
I have to shout out one of my favorite moments of I guess was it late last year? Well, when she did the Simpsons Greta Thunberg figure, and Matt Groening actually has one. Like,
yeah,
that was just like that was one of those moments where, and the two of us, Dave, I'm speaking for Dave, he's right here, but we're huge Simpsons fans.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say you can comfortably speak for me on that one.
And that was one where, like, no joke, we were living vicariously through you and through you guys.
Right
like
on.
We saw that video, we were just like yeah.
That was surreal. Yeah, that one was wild, and it honestly couldn't have come at a better time, because Katie had worked herself so hard up until Designer Con, and she's got chronic illness that just really wears her out. So we get to Designer Con, and she'd worked so hard that, like, she was literally just done. Like, she left the hotel room maybe for 3 hours the whole weekend for Designer Con. So that couldn't have been, that literally was the best medicine she got all weekend. I was sitting there at the booth, and Groening's, making the rounds, and everybody's like, "Do you see he's coming?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got this." I double checked with her beforehand, because she was at the hotel, and I was like, "Is it okay if I give Groening one of your Gretas?" And of course, she was fine with that. And Groening is just such an impressive and inspiring guy. He comes up, he talks to us about it, or it's not us, me, and people were at the booth with me. And I was like, we insist, we'll give you one. And he's like, "Okay, but here, let me make sure and just give you like a charitable donation towards the art, and not going to argue with him. It's like, "Hey, if you want, sure, dude, here, $20, something like that." He literally pulled out the exact change and was like, "Here, take it," And I'm not going to say no to a millionaire. I certainly am not a millionaire. I'm closer to not a millionaire than a millionaire. So not going to argue with him, but it was just such a neat, kind gesture, because it was just like, "Hey, dude, you guys are profiting off of and banking on my creations. This is my favorite piece. I'm going to record a video for your wife." Like that whole video, I sent it to her afterwards. And that was like, that kickstarted her weekend, and she came out for a little while to the convention and hung out, and it was the sweetest, most humbling, inspiring experiences of Designer Con in a long time. That was really cool. Matt Groening's a stand-up dude from my experiences and hers.
Love to hear that. That's
and also I must say, like, yeah, her Greta sculpt is just bananas. Again, like, staying with the line's heritage, it looks identical to anything that was put out in the series by Playmates.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That and, how could you go wrong with a combo of Porg and Suicidal Tendencies?
Porgicidal, bro.
Yeah,
that one was
amazing.
fun.
Yeah, you're currently talking to the biggest Porg fan in existence in my brother Dave here. He is literally
right on.
King Porg.
Yeah, I love
sick.
Anytime I was just a month ago maybe, just back from Disney, and I was like, oh, there's a new Porg and it makes noise. I need this.
You do. Porgs are so cute. I love
They're
Porgs.
the best.
I'm on your team there with Porgs. They're rad. It would be great. You know what, listeners? Mandalorian Porg. There you go. There's your gift from Dollar Slice. Love to see a Mando Porg.
Oh, a little Porg with a little like chibi Mando armor on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my heart.
Someone's gonna do it.
My heart. All right, so now is time for some Q&A. This segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at 106 Main Street in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at chubsywubsy.com. That's CHUBZYWUBZZY.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you. So this was interesting because we got a lot of the same or similar questions from people, so I can't credit these next 4 questions with any one individual like we normally do for this segment. But
there were more than 4 people who gave you questions about me? That's awesome.
Yes.
Wow, ripping. Thanks, folks.
All right, so the first one, and by far this was the most popular question. What advice do you have for people looking to make their own toys?
Oh, cool. I like that question. Just start doing it. Go on YouTube. Look up how to build a pressure pot. Build your pressure pot. Then get your resin and get your silicone. Get 327 smooth cast resin. It's nice and forgiving. Get some Moldstar 20T. It will last a long time. Boom. Start doing it. Go on Craftsman's Steady Craftsman's page. That will show you how to do anything you need to do. But to start making toys, stop thinking about it, stop dwelling on it, stop waiting about it. If you got to save, that's of course you got to do that. But just do it. There's no other way to make toys than to make toys. You just have to start. You're not making toys until your hands are messy and you've got silicone and resin on your pants. There's no other way to do it. So you just dive in head first. Don't look, just do it.
All right. As someone who has spent so much time boiling, popping, and casting, how do you feel about 3D printing?
Words. Oh, that's fun too. I think that 3D printing has its place. I feel that just as what is it? What is it? The band, not Bandcamp. Is that what's that app? The Apple app for making music. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Well, there you go. The way I see 3D printing and molding, casting, kit bashing, it's just the same thing. You're GarageBand. You're taking samples. You're just dragging, clicking. It's got its place. It's definitely cool. I mean, some really neat stuff's been made on GarageBand. I like to plug in, tune, play. Have the amp, the instrument. Maybe the master piece that I'm molding, cast it, put it in my pressure pot. So I feel like there's value in either. It's definitely a lot easier if you just want to make some customs or something, or you just want what you just saw on Book of Boba Fett last night and you want to find the file and download it and make those yourself. I think they're rad. you know, I could be a grumpy old man about it and be like, oh, well, you're not molding and casting. Like, that's got no place. But that's not true. And that's not like staying with the evolution of toy making. And, you know, like, cool. That's what we did in the past and could only do it. But hey, it's the future. The future is cool. Like, now people are 3D printing. I appreciate it. I think it's got its place. And, you know, I definitely have 3D sculpts. Like, I'm working with Dave Bondi at the moment for working on again, the punk rock scene, again, East Coast, Lord Ezak from DMS, Scarhead, Danny Diablo, working on I'm putting out a toy for Ezak, and Bondi's sculpting that up right now again too. And that's the same thing we're doing Playmates scale. But yeah, he's going to come with a mug of beer, a paint pen, and a mic. And again, Barton did the illustrations and the turnarounds for him. It's awesome. But, you know, that's one of those things, like, it's just Bondi doing the 3D sculpt seems most in keeping and most efficient with this one. So that's what we're doing. But yeah, I appreciate it. And, you know, I'm not going to lie. I absolutely adore, like, I'm in love with the fact that you can print an 8-foot Boba Fett if you want, you know, like they stay high def regardless of how big you blow them up. And I love that. I love the jumbo aspect and like just how crazy you can get with that stuff.
Well, speaking of Boba Fett, this was actually my favorite question from this. Along with Killer Bootlegs and Suck Lord, like we mentioned, you've been doing your Book of Boba Fett recaps. Why do you think that Boba Fett has become such an important character in the bootleg toy community?
Fair enough. Well, that works because I just wanted to really quick give a shout to Pete and Morgan. You know, Suck Lord and Killer, love you guys. Thanks for being awesome. We've been killing it. We've made 7 episodes. And what ties that together is, like, with Boba Fett, I feel like in our community and the resin casting bootlegging scene, he's part of the heritage. I mean, that's who Sucklord based his character and his avatar off of. And regardless of like whether or not we want to, he's everywhere. I mean, Sucklord is the community. He is the scene. He is the art form. He's Ian MacKaye, dude. He started Straight Edge. You know, so it's impossible not to at least see that Mandalorian helmet with the visor one way or another. And then you get to Killer, who is second in line with this stuff. He adores Boba Fett, you know, and his work was all super Boba Fettified and was just a ton of Boba Fett. So the two of those guys, they just hammered it into the ethera of the whole community and the blueprint. And on top of that, I feel like Boba Fett, like unintentionally, if you look at Boba Fett, he came out in 1980, 79. If you look at him, he is literally a highlight reel of every cool toy and something that came out in the 80s into the 90s. Robo, like he's robotic. He looks like a transformer. He's all spacey. It's kind of looks like something that could have been in Ninja Turtles. At the same time, he could have been in G.I. Joe. At the same time, he could have transformed. I mean, it was just completely unintentional, but that guy is literally a highlight reel of everything for about 15, 20 years of, you know, toy influence. And I feel like that's another reason he's even the armor, the way it looks like turtle shell. I mean, he just is an incredible soup can. He is a great piece to work off of, to riff off of. There's always some new approach. And if you don't like new approaches, there's hundreds of approaches people have already done, and you can do your version of them, you know? And he's just, before Book of Boba Fett came out, he was, you know, there wasn't even a personality or anything so much. So you could infuse him with whatever you wanted, you know? You could Buddha Fett, you know what I'm saying? And it worked. Even now it works. He's all chill and laid back now that we've gotten to know him a little bit better, you know? I think between just Sucklord's ties to him and popularizing the image and just how Peter really hammered it home, and yeah, just being a highlight reel of everything cool to come in that decade, just randomly happened to be like, I mean, Boba Fett. And plus, dude, that rocket firing like action, you know, we were all looking for someone who had that. Oh, you don't play with your toys anymore and you had Star Wars figures? Can I come over and look at them? Maybe I'll give you $5 and a Crystal Pepsi, you know? Like, we all wanted to find a freaking rocket firing Boba Fett when we were kids.
Yeah, I once heard somebody say, define toyetic, and their answer was Boba Fett.
Yeah. Jeez. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I can think of like that single figure keeping me entertained on drives to see family that were like 6 hours away. You know what I'm saying? When I'm like 7 years old, and just tracing the lines of his armor and the rocket and just the character and just all the adventures he can go on in the back seat. He's got a freaking rocket pack.
And he's like the most famous, like, well, this toy is dangerous. Like, instance of like,
Right?
this was changed.
That's right.
Yeah, it was like
Safety.
you're
It's like, well, why? It's cool.
living life on the edge. Even as a 4-year-old, you're like, yo, I could die. I can't even comprehend what that means, but man, this thing could do it.
So the last question in the Q&A is prefaced with, making toys is hard. Did you ever feel like quitting at any point?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Making toys is really hard, and keeping your confidence up to continue making toys, or just being okay with being broke your whole life, is just something that, like, yeah, there's times where stuff's not going right. Deadlines are screaming at you. Your hands are shaking and the lines are coming out wrong on the paint, and you've got to deliver, and it's just doesn't feel worth it at that moment. Sometimes a project will be overwhelming and I won't sleep very much for weeks. And it can be daunting, I'm not going to play it cool and be like, yeah, bro, it's rad every day. I wake up, I put on my rainbow glasses, and I'm just hyped, bro. There's a lot of times where it's just like, man, what is wrong with me? Like, maybe I should just take these face tattoos to SoundCloud and start rapping. Like, I don't know. But like, it's hard at times. But yeah, you feel like quitting sometimes, but it comes down to it, there's nothing better, and there's nothing I could ever imagine doing. Like, I managed to make this work so far. No way I'm ever going to quit. No matter how hard it gets, or how sleep deprived, or how many pennies on the hour I'm making. I don't care. This is what I want to do till I'm dead, and that's what I will.
Well, with that, you have survived the Q&A. So
Oh.
that was it. That was it for the Q&A.
Oh, ripping. Well, I'm grateful that they were nice to me.
and that brings us to our signature moment in every episode of the podcast here, where Dave fulfills his role as this show's James Lipton and asks the final question.
So the final question: what is your favorite and or strangest piece in your collection? It can be one of each. It can be both.
Geez, I hate to be like broken recordy, and like I dwelled on it for a while, and I'll probably think of it right after we're done. But it really is my Malbolgia. I just love that thing. My very first one, the very first one I got with my grandma when I was 14, after months in the car driving around trying to find that thing. It's my Malbolgia. It's got a dot on its foot, so I could tell the difference from it between the 75 other ones. And it's not so strange, but I just love that thing. It's my most favorite for sure. And strange toys, I mean, that's hard. That's super challenging, because the community I'm in, I mean, just I don't even know where to start. I've got when one of your best friends is Sucklord, I don't even know what to, like. I've got a jumbo 18-inch Shogun style Sucklord with a jelly. I don't know how explicit I get, but it's got a jelly something you'd insert in your butt on one side, and
hey, we don't kink shame here. You could say butt plug. That's fine.
yeah, it's got an epic little see-through butt plug for the left hand, and the right hand's holding this crazy pink lightsaber, and he's got a jeweled money sign on it. It's awesome. It was the centerpiece for the Psychedelic Boot Bear show in 2017. That's probably my other prize. And that's my prize weird piece for sure.
Good answers. Both of them are good. And
Yeah.
I honestly, I could spend the next half hour just talking to you about your Malbolgia collection, because I love those early Spawn figures. So
Right.
do you have them all displayed, all 76 of them in one spot displayed?
So I'll send you guys a picture on the IG messages. The last time I took a picture, I think I had 66 or so. And I took a picture at this one place we were at for about 6 months, and it was the whole staircase. They're just all up and down. I've got one in the package still because it's covered in Korean stickers and Korean packaging. So it looks really cool. But yeah, they're all out of the package. They're in storage right now, but we're actually in process of unpacking them over the next 6 weeks or so. We're getting all our toys out of storage. And yeah, they just all fit. They used to fit on a shelf, all of them just stacked up there. And it looked like a scene straight out of Labyrinth or something, like a bunch of Jim Henson Muppets. There is so much soul and so much personality in that sculpt, and the way that face is, and the exaggerated jaw and eyes, and the way his hands are. And he can kick his legs around. It's
such a it's such a gangly, awesome, weird figure. It always has been.
It is. He's got so much personality. It's so fun. And just like any ones that you guys have, these all suffer from the same issue. They just are like, down I go, and they do a flip into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You have to lean them extra far back because for some reason they always do somersaults forward onto the ground.
Yep, weird top heavy. I mean, but that Todd continues to do that to this day. Is how much plastic can I get in this package for $20?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's continue to this day. So
that's awesome.
Well, listen, before we let you go and we sign off for the evening, tell our audience where can we find you on the internets?
Okay, radical. So you can find me on the internet on Instagram at Slice City Rebels for the Slice City Rebel series I'm doing with Barton. Barton is Adam Barton Tattoo. And then my main account is $Slice Bootlegs with an underscore in between each word.
Awesome. And just wanted to thank you again for taking the time to be on the show with us. It was awesome finally getting a chance to talk to you and learn a little bit more about you.
Oh, rad. Well, no, thank you guys too for the time and, throwing together these questions and time to have me on the show. I appreciate it. I was curious, can I plug just one more time, the Slice City and the projects coming?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, right on. Thank you. So just the plug rundown. Again, please go check out my insanely talented wife, Horsey Boo. She's just bananas with what she's doing. She's working on a Boba Fett sculpt at the moment. I'm not even sure if I should be saying that, but whatever. You heard it here first. Go get it. And then, my partner and collaborator for Slice City Rebels, go check him out. Adam Barton Tattoo on Instagram. He's just one of the most inspiring, impressive tattooers out there. And just, you'd be psyched to ever collect a piece from him if you're in Santa Cruz. Go hang from the Lost Boys Bridge and then go get a tattoo from Barton. And again, I check out Machine 56. I can't emphasize enough how much you need to get this brand in your life. Machine 56 makes some of the neatest handmade designer helmet mask wearable art. And they make some jackets, pants, other stuff as well. It looks straight out of Evangelion or Star Wars or Robotech. And it's all handmade, limited edition. It's really neat. I've become pretty good friends with them, and it's just been really impressive seeing their process and how they go about creating these pieces, and really inspiring just to see how they work. So please check out Machine 56. And last but not least, please go follow Slice City Rebels. We will be having releases very soon, and they're not going to stop once they start. So get on board.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we include links to all the social media profiles in the show notes. So, if you guys want to go start tapping away to follow, you'll find all the links that John just mentioned in the show notes. Thank you again, John, for coming and joining us. And once Slice City Rebels get some more releases out, we'll have to have you come back on and talk more about the process.
Oh, please. Yeah. Me and Barton were talking about that. He's never even listened to a podcast, let alone been on one. So he was trying to figure out how to listen to tonight's podcast. And he was like, found out that they're recorded afterwards. So that would be awesome to have him on with me so we could discuss our process and what we're doing with the series and where the comic's at and all that. That would be rad. Thanks, dudes. That would be awesome.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azzari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.
Winter can wreak havoc on your skin. Hey, it's Kayla, and it's not just the weather, but as a new mom, I've seen my skin change in ways that I'm not too happy about. But that's where the Skin Center has you covered. Their most popular treatment is Botox because they're the best at it. They've been ranked a top 10 provider in the nation by Allergan Aesthetics, the makers of Botox. And their best facial is what I got. It's the HydraFacial. It exfoliates, extracts, and hydrates all at once. So save your skin from these winter blues and DM at the Skin Center MD on Instagram and mention code Kayla to get $100 off your first Botox or filler treatment or any skincare package.